All right, everybody, Rob Ferrari here, and this is another good one. Everybody likes to look at my stories that I share and say, like, wow, that guy's got the worst luck. I don't really have the worst luck. It's just the nature of the beast. I've had employees damage and crash cars before. It's just, you know, it happens. Well, this time it happened to a Ferrari dealership in San Antonio, and that Ferrari being crashed by an employee ended up costing, or is potentially going to cost the dealership almost $1 million or up to $1 million because there's a lawsuit. So here's what happened. Texas businessman, we'll just leave it at that. I don't want to get into what he does or anything like that. I don't think it's incredibly relevant for this. But he is a guy who brought his 2014 458 Spider to the dealership on consignment. Consignment means that you are giving your vehicle to the dealership to sell. If your dealership can't, if they sell it, they take a commission. If they can't sell it, they give it back. The dealer is not buying it from you to then floor plan and sell it. They're legitimately putting a third-party car in their showroom to attract a buyer to then take a piece of that transaction as it finishes. Now, the story from the lawsuit is that the dealership got this car. One of the guys in the dealership joyrode the car, crashed it, and then the dealership scrambled, convinced the guy who owned the car to take less than he wanted to take, and then revealed that the car was crashed after they agreed to a payout. And then the guy's like, whoa, 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 I'm not accepting the payout. And they looked at that as an opportunity to squeeze the dealer. Right now they're claiming like fraud and negligence. And I don't know if I necessarily agree here. This is sort of a little bit more open and shut than $1 million lawsuit. Because whether or not the dealer acknowledged that the car was crashed, that's like just bad business. Like, hey, your car was crashed. But if you bring your car to the dealership for sale, right? The emotional attachment's over. You're selling your car, right? I will take, and they listed the car for $240,000, which is retail, $239,500, whatever it was. $240,000 is every penny of a 2014 458 Spider. So right there, you're trying to get retail. Assume the car sells $225, $220, whatever it was. They said they got a buyer at $220, and that the guy was going to agree to take $220 and receive $210, right? So clearly, like, if you're agreeing to accept $210,000 for your car and you're happy with that, whether the car is on fire at the bottom of a lake shouldn't really matter. You've now accepted, verbally or not, that you're going to take $210,000 for the car. Whether or not they're like, look, I think this is a good, you've accepted to take $210,000 for your car. That's step one. Now, next step is like, oh yeah, the car was crashed. Oh, wait a second, car's crashed. I don't want to take $210,000 anymore. This is where I can say, sure, you know what? Now you may be entitled to, they don't get a commission, they don't get it. You get $220,000. That's what the sale would have been, $225,000. You could try to squeeze it just for the PR aspect of it, that they'll pay you $225,000 for the car, and then they'll eat whatever loss there is, right? That's not where this stopped. This turned into like, and this is why people hate rich people, at least why I hate certain rich people, is that people look for this payday. I've been wronged. Oh, I've been wronged. Come on. You had a car, you had a widget. The widget's worth $225,000. Forget what they were asking for, like full retail, guy who's been dreaming about that exact spec car forever. That buyer doesn't really exist. The car is worth, just say, $225,000, right? You get your $225,000, you're good. Whether the car gets, whether a guy lights it on fire, whether the guy pushes it off a cliff, shouldn't make a difference. So you can be made whole by somebody giving you $225,000. You feel tricked, deceived that the car was crashed or whatever. I get asking for the $225,000, asking for $1 million, pushing the like treble damages, claiming fraud and negligence. You're not harmed. Your harm stops at receiving full payment for what you had at the dealer for sale, right? Like, I don't understand. And this is sort of like a touchy one. I think this is going to split the audience as far as like, if that was my car. If that was my car, if you're happy putting a car for sale and getting full value for it, that's it. You know, now, yes, they're claiming negligence. Employees damage cars. It happens. Oh, the guy was joyriding. You don't know if the guy was joyriding. The guy could have been backing it up into in the shop or something, hit a pole. I know that's not the situation here, but like stuff happens. Like you have employees at a dealership, cars get damaged. It's just what happens. To then try to say like, well, that was negligence. Negligence is one of my least favorite words because anything where something happens, it's very easy. Well, that was negligent. Well, if you didn't crash it, like it's negligent to crash. Like you clearly did something wrong because if you didn't do something wrong, there would be no negligence and there wouldn't be a crash. Like that drives me nuts. So claiming negligence, claiming fraud is a different story. Claiming fraud is the loss you could claim is that the car was worth $225 and they paid you $210, which you accepted, but that $15,000 could be the fraud. You were receiving less monetary compensation than value of your asset, right? So, but even in any case, no matter how it works, whether the dealership takes $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, the dealership at the end of the day was buying a car for $210,000 that was arguably now worth, even when repaired, $195, $200, whatever it's worth. So they're paying more than the damn thing's worth. And even with the accident on it before they pay to repair it, maybe worth $150. I don't know what the actual damage was. I don't know any of those details. But the fact that people, now I'm getting a lawyer, I'm suing, I'm doing that, our legal system stinks. Like for this to be a thing where this guy, and then we had this case where the other guy got paid whatever it was, $500,000 or so. I remember I did a video on it and it was just so like maddening. That these guys get these tremendous payouts. It was a 430 that he got, the manifolds are cracked. And I remember this. And he claimed fraud, and this guy got 3x what the car was even worth. So he got a free Ferrari and then several hundreds of thousands of dollars claiming, or maybe even millions, I forget what it was, claiming that the dealership was negligent, and they lied to him, saying that it was sold as we took care of everything, and they gave it to him, and it wasn't everything taken care of. Mind-boggling to me. Like, I just don't get it, right? Like, that stuff, it really irks me. Like, to claim that you are somehow harmed when selling something, hey, I'll give you whatever. Like, imagine somebody buys a piece of art from you that you think is worth $500. He gives you $500, and it turns out, that was a Picasso, it's worth $40 million. You can't sue the guy. You agreed to take $500 for the thing. What, like, it's your job to either look it up, and even if the guy gave you $400 instead of $500, you'd have a claim of $100. The fact that you could take something and then claim all this negligence and fraud and, I don't know, I can't trust a car dealership ever again, is very, very, like, I don't know. It just defines what is terrible about our legal system. Your damages should be capped at the value of the thing that was lost. Plus, if you need legal fees, if you have to chase after it. But like a dealership, if you say like, you give me that other 15 grand or I'm going to sue you, the dealer's not going to spend $15,000 in legal fees. If they do want to spend $15,000 on legal fees, you sue them, you get your $15,000, and then you get your damages of whatever legal fees. So the dealership ends up having to pay $30,000 or $40,000 instead of just writing the check for $15,000 in advance. That's the stuff I don't get. I don't know, like I get like emotional distress. I get that stuff. Like if you do something and like there's anxiety, you can't sleep, et cetera, like it impacts your life for a long time. Guy was selling a car and got paid for the car. Like it's not, regardless of what happened behind the scenes, I agree. Like the dealership probably should have just said like, look, the car was crashed. But the dealership did sort of, I mean, I don't know if I'm not in that position, but as a business, it's like, you broke somebody's thing, just go pay for it and we'll deal with it. I don't know if it's relevant if somebody's selling something and you break it or you don't break it. Like imagine you put a piece of art for sale in a gallery and you're like, hey, you know what? You damaged the art. Instead of saying, hey, we damaged the art, hey, I got a buyer, here's your check. If you end up being the buyer, who cares? Like, and the dealership has a completely different take on this. They're trying to pretend like it's fraud, and they negotiated down, and they were claiming that there was a buyer, but there wasn't a real buyer. There very well could have been a buyer at $220,000, and the guy at the dealership crashed the car. So now the dealer's like, well, I can't sell the buyer the car because it's now crashed. But hey, Joe, we have a buyer, $220,000. Our commission's $10,000. We'll give you a check for $210,000. You're good. Joe says good. That's it. So now the dealership is at a disadvantage because they can't sell the car. They got to fix it and resell it. But they're giving this guy every penny that they were able to get and secure to sell that car. And that was real money on that car. That wasn't like significant, hey, we got to buy her at 130, the car's worth 225. It wasn't significantly below market value. So I don't really get the claim that this guy is making. I do get it because people like lawyers love this. A lawyer will do this on contingency all day long. Contingency means that the lawyer is going to just say like, look, you don't have to pay me $1. I'm going to go sue them and I'm going to get 30% of whatever I win. So that's where we're at. And lawyers love this because lawyers are pretty much the worst people on the planet. Even the lawyers are like, yeah, we are. Yeah, you signed a deal with the devil. That's why you become a lawyer. It sucks. There's people there defending all these people that are clearly guilty. But you know what? OJ got a defense lawyer because OJ is entitled to a defense. And it's just one of those things that, can't fix the world. But I agree everybody is entitled to a defense. They are entitled to be presumed innocent until proven guilty. But at the end of the day, to hide evidence, there's lawyers, Fotis Doulos, the guy who just tried to kill himself yesterday, up in Connecticut, killed his wife. His lawyer is now being charged with helping cover up the murder. I mean, and there's this big attorney-client privilege thing, but at a certain point in time, they're rather unscrupulous. The guy, Avenatti, same thing, extorting, and he's representing Stormy Daniels, like, oh yeah, the salt of the earth here. And this guy's coming out and going after Nike and trying to extort him for $20 million I'm going to smear you. It just shows you that these people are pretty bad news. Not every lawyer, I'm sure some good lawyers out there, maybe one good lawyer out there, but most of them sort of stink. I'm very happy I didn't follow my path. I went to college pre-law, and I'm very happy I jumped off that train early on. But there you have it. Leave your comments in the thing below. If it was your car, they crashed it. I would love it. If I brought my car in for service and they pushed it off the lift and they're like, all right, here's a check for the value of your car. Great. Especially, and that's bringing the car in for service. It's not even bringing a car in for sale. If I brought my car in for sale, I don't care who's writing the check, the owner or the dealer, the daughter or the owner or the dealer. I don't care who ends up with that car. As long as I receive the money that I'm willing to take on that car, you got a sale. And that's where it should stop. I think that's where the lawsuit should stop, which hopefully, Judge, if you're watching, like this guy's entitled to the $220 that the car was worth. You're entitled to every penny that the car is worth. I don't think you're entitled to anything beyond that. That's just me, Rob Ferrari, giving you thoughts on this. Sucks to be the dealership. It's more of a black eye on the dealership that they're trying to cover something up. But again, until I'm in, we don't know the actual details or the who knew what, it just could be a manager scrambling to try to save face because it doesn't look good. If you have a customer and it's like, oh, my car is crashed, this guy looks at it as an opportunity. Instead of just saying, okay, you know what, thank you, you guys are doing the right thing, they could easily say, hey, you make an insurance claim on your insurance. That's a different story. Whether the dealership was going to make this right, they attempted to make it right by giving this guy all the money for his car, or whatever he was willing to accept for the car, or completing the deal that wasn't able to be completed because the car was crashed. In my eyes, the dealership did what they had to do. And I don't know, it's tough. It's like nobody wants to admit that they smashed up a customer's car, and that just complicates it. So if you get the guy to agree to take the car, if the guy refused to take anything else, like I'm not taking less than $240, the dealership probably would have written the check for $240. I don't know. I guarantee you there's dealerships out there that damage cars and fix them and give them back to you before you even find out about it. It's just the way the car world is. I'm sorry. It's just the way it is. But Rob Ferrari, thank you for watching. Leave your comments and thoughts below. If you have a Ferrari, I still think you're okay to bring it to Ferrari of San Antonio, to consign it, to sell it. Reputable Ferrari dealership. I've never heard anything. You're not talking about going to cars for cash down the street and crossing your fingers. I think you'll be all right. Adios. For those of you not familiar with my other company, I started a company called Adventure Drives, which combines driving and bucket list travel. It's a lot of fun. If you're interested, prices can be done per person. Don't worry if you don't have somebody to go with you, we can match you up with somebody. You can check the link in the description for adventuredrives.com and sign up today.